Welcome to another Tuesday night Chalk Talk, where we talk about everything to do with golf except the golf swing. Except for tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about the swing, but not in the way you think. And I thought it would make a lot of sense right now to talk about how to prioritize what to work on in your game, so that if you are working on things, and particularly your swing, you're working on them for the right reasons. I think we've become too swing focused, and when I say swing focused, too much detail about what the positions of the swing ought to be, and not enough focus on the result that we're trying to achieve. Here's where I'd like to start. I want you to think about this concept of an 80-20 focus. If you guys are familiar with the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, 80% of your improvement will come from 20% of your efforts. So what I want to talk about tonight is how to get the focus on that 20% so you can maximize your return and start playing better golf. We're going to talk about the 4 most important shots in golf. Mastering these 4 shots will have the biggest impact on your game. Second, we're going to talk about the key performance measures that we use to judge how well we're doing on those most important shots. They're going to be related. And this is the way I want you to shift your thinking and start thinking more about performance and less about mechanics. Let me start by setting the context. And I like to divide the game into 3 areas. So we talk about the swing, we talk about strategy, and last month we did a talk where we talked about one of the components of strategy, course navigation. And then we also talk about mental toughness, or your thought process, or mental skills. And here's what I want to do today. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on one of these areas, the swing, and we're going to talk about the 4 most important measures of performance. In fact, I don't think you can get any simpler than these 4 performance measures. They are center contact, your directional accuracy, your distance control, and your shot shape, and your ability to control a shot shape. In the end, anything that you do in your golf swing should affect and basically improve one of these 4 things. And I think we get too fixated on what's happening with our golf swing, and not enough focus is paid, not enough attention is paid to the outcome that we're trying to achieve. And that's the way I want you to think. If I do something, is my performance measure going to improve? And all I want you to focus on are the thoughts that these 4 things are all you can do. So no matter what you're doing in your golf swing, I don't care if you're a 1-plane swinger or a 2-plane swinger or a stack and tilt or a natural golfer. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What matters is your ability to improve on one of these 4 measures. The reason that you're a 1-plane swinger or a 2-plane swinger or a natural golfer or a stack and tilt or whatever method you might approach is because that's how you are currently optimizing these 4 factors. If for some reason you have a problem with your golf game, think about what it is that you're trying to improve. It's not necessarily the swing you're trying to improve, it's the outcome, the performance measures you're trying to improve. As I've asked people, what are the 4 most important shots in golf, I get a pretty clear agreement on the most important shots. Number 1, usually as it comes out, is putting. And the most important shot in golf might be the 6 to 7 foot putt. Those are round makers or round breakers. If you can make them, you can save a lot of pars. I'm going to add one component to that, and that's a 40-foot putt. But putting probably the most important. Next, driver. And we usually mean driver off the tee, as opposed to a 3-wood off the tee or a hybrid or an iron. We don't use a driver usually in the fairway. Third would be scoring shots. Now the pros would call a scoring shot anywhere from 75 to 125 yards. Your distance might vary depending on your club head speed and how far you hit the ball. The average amateur scoring shots probably around 60 to 110, but that's their scoring shot. A scoring shot, you could also say, is whatever your 3/4 lob wedge would be, all the way out to a full swing pitching wedge or maybe a 9-iron, whatever that distance is. 4th most important would be greenside pitch, and that I usually define as 5 to 25 yards. So everybody usually agrees, yes, those are the 4 most important shots in golf. I'm going to add one more. So today we're actually going to do Today we're actually going to do 5 shots, and I'm going to say the long approach shot. And there's a reason I want to do that, because it gets back to what am I going to do to my golf game to improve this year. Let's say the 6 to 7 foot putt is one of your issues, and you think, okay, I need to improve. What should you improve? Where should you start? That's the question, and that's what we're going to answer. And in order to answer that question, I want you to think back and think about one of these 4 things. Okay, I need to start there. Whatever else I do, I need to improve one of these things. I think the most important thing for you to focus on the 6 to 7 foot putt is your directional accuracy. Here's why. So directional accuracy is not just as simple as making it go into the right place. There's actually 3 components. 3 components to directional accuracy. One is your face angle, and really face angle at impact primarily, although usually we start by measuring what your face angle is at address. But we like to see what your face angle is at the moment of impact. So 1 is your face angle, 2 is your path, and 3 is your aim point. Now I know exactly what I need to look at to improve. Is it a face angle issue? Is it a path issue that's making my ball go offline? Or am I aiming at the wrong spot? Now with a straight uphill putt, it's pretty easy to tell if it's face angle or path. Aim point obviously has a lot more to do with reading greens and reading the break. So if you're continuously missing putts that break, that might be an aim point issue. If you can make 10 putts in a row from 7 feet if it's dead straight, then it might not be an aim or a path issue, but you can't make a 7-footer that breaks, it's an aiming issue. So do you understand how I'm working back into the key performance metrics to figure out what I should work on, and that tells me where I need to focus my time and energy? Get the idea? So I really want to change your thinking and be so that you could be less mechanical. It may be that you need a mechanical adjustment to either fix your face angle, your club path, or your aim point, but I want you to make it for the right reasons and then look back and say, yes, my direction is much better now. Let's move on to the second one. Driver. The first thing that I want you to think about, or master at least, is how well do you make center contact? How well do you hit the club face? How well do you hit the ball in the middle of the club face with your driver? So for my 2 cents, the most important thing you can start with is center contact. Start there. Now I got an interesting tip from one of my students who sent me an email. He was reading about what we were doing and how we were measuring and how we were using a little dot on the back of the ball. And so he sent me a note and said he uses foot powder. So we went to the store, and I went to the store and I bought a little spray and I sprayed it on my driver club face and tried that. It works great. So you don't have to buy anything special, just a little talcum powder or some foot powder. Put it on your driver face and you can tell exactly where you're making contact. So start with that. Scoring shots. So if you're not getting close to the pin when you're from 60 to 110 or 75 to 125, whatever your scoring range is, start with your start with your distance control. What we find is most people are farther away, short or long, than they are left or right. How about the greenside pitch? Distance control. For the same reason. Most people are farther away from the hole when they're done, short or long, than they are left or right. Now I would say, interestingly enough, that the next most important one for greenside shots is center contact. That's because a lot of people hit it fat or they scull them. So learning how to hit the ball in the middle of the club face is extremely important. Let's go to the last one, long approach. So for my 2 cents, the answer is directional accuracy. So the reason I say directional accuracy with the long approach shot is most trouble around a green is to the side of the green. Most of the time when you're coming into a green, the opening is more or less in the front. And so whether you are short or long as you can keep the ball in front of the pin with a relatively clear approach shot into the pin, you can still score. But if you're trying to always get it up to the pin and you're not very accurate with your direction, then you're going to find hazards and sand traps and, short side yourself, and those are very difficult up and downs. So if you are having trouble out from a long distance in the fairway, either with hybrids or long irons, then the first thing I want you to master is your directional accuracy. Keep it in front of the hole, because even if you don't necessarily reach the hole, at least you've got a relatively easy greenside pitch that'll give you a chance to get up and down and save your par, whatever you're playing for. So what I'm trying to give you is a framework so that when you go practice, you can actually begin to think about, well, how am I doing from a performance basis on these four most important things?